Hello, welcome to our new YouTube series designed not only to help you ace those graduate pre-employment selection assessments, but also to make you the star performer at work. Now imagine walking into your new job. You are armed with the superpower of critical thinking. You'll be asking great questions, providing great ideas, proposing great solutions, and impressing everyone with your sharp insight. So let's dive in and get started. In this session, we'll be answering a critical reasoning question. And guess what? I'll be sharing with you a simple method to do this. It's called the analyze method and it's by TestAssessify. It's a very simple process. You'll understand the argument, you analyze the information, and you will evaluate it to select the best option. And this is the secret weapon you need to tackle any critical reasoning question. So let's get this show on the road. It's time to make you a critical reasoning champion. Step one of the analyze method is to understand the argument. And this means reading and understanding the argument that is being presented. What we want to do is we want to identify the main claim, we want to identify the supporting reasons and any conclusions that are drawn. It is very important that we identify any potential biases because this is actually very important. Okay, we are now at step two, and step two is about analyzing the information. So, what we want to do is we want to identify if there are any relevant assumptions or information that can be used to support the argument or conclusions that are drawn. The questions are: can you identify any missing information or counter arguments that could weaken the argument? Is the information provided supported by credible sources? Now we've gone through step one and step two. Step three is about evaluating the options. So we're going to go through the options and we're going to assess each option and we're going to sort of rate them, rank them, and select the best option. There could be one or more options that are suitable, but we are going to select the best option. Now that we've covered the analyze method, we are going to actually use the analyze method to solve this particular question. The question for today says that Nigeria's unemployment rate is high because foreign companies dominate the job market. Therefore, implementing protectionist policies to restrict foreign competition is essential to reduce unemployment. What's the goal? The goal here is to identify the main claim and the supporting reason. In a way, it's like being a detective, but this time we are going to be a detective of words. What's the claim? The claim here states that Nigeria has a high unemployment rate due to the domination of foreign companies in the job market. Now, what's the argument? The argument suggests that the solution is to implement protectionist policies to restrict foreign competition and in turn reduce unemployment. What are the main points in this argument? The main points can be summarized as one, the cause of an high unemployment is because of foreign company domination, and two, the solution is protectionist policies. So we've been given the pain, essentially we've been given the painkiller as well. Now let's move on to step two. So we've covered step one, we've identified the argument. Step two is about analyzing the information here. So here is where we dig deeper. For example, is the dominance of foreign companies really the root cause of unemployment? Or are there other factors at play? So answering the question with the information presented, and that's what we want to do. We want to look at the information and see if we can actually answer the question that we are being asked. You will notice that this particular passage does not provide any direct information sources. So this means that we will have to make assumptions. The question is, what assumptions does this particular argument make? From this passage, we can actually make three assumptions. The first is that foreign companies are the primary cause of unemployment, and that the second is that protectionist policies will effectively reduce foreign company domination. And the third assumption is that this will subsequently reduce unemployment. We've covered step 1 and step 2. Now we're at step 3, which is about evaluating the options. We've been given 4 options to consider, and each of the options provides a different perspective on the argument. In a way, it's like a puzzle where each piece changes the whole picture. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk through each option. We're going to evaluate its relevance and the impact on the argument. For each of the options, we're going to carry out a brief analysis. We're going to see if we can tie it back to the argument. And there's a very important tip here that the best answer is not always the most obvious one. Now, which of the following, if true, will be the most relevant to evaluate the argument? It is option A, which states that the impact of protectionist policies on foreign investments in Nigeria. Now, we all know that protectionist policies might deter foreign investments. This could have a very broad impact on the economy. For example, if foreign investments decrease significantly, it could harm the economy. So in other ways, it's potentially not solving the unemployment issue. It might even worsen it. So if we now look at this particular statement, we can say that it is relevant to evaluate the argument, and we would actually give it a rating of high. Now let's move on to the next option. Let's look at option B. Is the education levels of the Nigerian workforce the most relevant criteria to evaluate the argument? Okay, let's analyze option B. Okay, while education levels can influence employability, the argument specifically discusses foreign companies' domination. So unless we can link education levels directly to the type of jobs foreign companies offer, it's not directly related to the argument. So I will rate this as, while it is relevant to evaluate the argument, I will rate it as a medium because it is not that important. Now let's consider option C as a criteria, which is the number of multinational companies operating in Nigeria. Let's analyze this. Knowing the number of multinational companies can provide some context on their influence in the job market. However, just having the number doesn't necessarily mean that their impact on employment is great, or that the types of jobs that they provide leads to unemployment. So it is a bit relevant to evaluate the argument. However, I'll rate this as a medium. Let's look at the last option, which is about the historical trends in Nigeria's unemployment rate. I would agree that historical trends can give context on whether unemployment was better or maybe worse in the past, but it doesn't directly address the argument, which is about foreign companies and protectionist policies. I would say that the relevance is low. And that's because while historical context is useful, it does not directly evaluate the efficacy of this solution. So we'll rate this as not relevant and low. We've gone through the analyze method to identify the best option. We were able to look at the information that was provided. We were able to analyze it and decide on what's the most relevant. And you would agree with me that option A is the best response. And this is really a wrap on the analyze method. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think it was useful? Do you have any questions? What are your thoughts? Do you have any burning questions? Please write this down in the comments, and I'll go through it and I'll respond to it. Hey, hit that subscribe button to join us for the next video, where we'll tackle yet another critical reasoning practice question. You can drop a comment to let us know which aptitude assessment you find challenging, or if there are particular questions you want us to solve, and we will get to that. Bye.